The Fabrique Nationale Model 1949, also known as the Semi-Auto FN or SAFN. Designed by Dieudonné Sauve, its development started prior to World War II, but was interrupted when Germany invaded Belgium and Sauve fled to England. With the war over, Sauve returned to Belgium and finished the design. The FN-49 saw limited adoption due to the number of military surplus rifles available post-World War II and the desire for more modern features such as detachable magazines. It was adopted by Egypt and several other countries though. This rifle's story starts in Herstal, Belgium. Marked on the left side of the receiver is the manufacturer mark. This translates to National War Weapons Factory, Herstal, Belgium, and is commonly abbreviated to and known as FN Herstal. On top of the receiver ring is a crown over an Arabic inscription. The Arabic inscription reads Egyptian Army, indicating this was an Egyptian contract FN-49. The crown is the monarchical crown of King Farouk of Egypt, who was the king at the time of Egypt's adoption of the FN-49. On the left side of the receiver is the serial number. This is marked in both Arabic and French numbers. This serial number puts the rifle in the second Egyptian contract and is listed as delivered in June of 1950. With FN producing varying calibers of FN-49s, caliber-specific parts were marked. The Egyptian contract rifles were chambered for 7.9mm, known as 8mm Mauser. A 7.9 marking can be seen on the receiver, extractor, magazine, and follower. As parts were produced, some were marked with inspection date codes. This was done using the last digit of the year, incorporated with varying borders to indicate what quarter the part was inspected. A 0 with a period after was used for 1950. Notice the inspection date codes on the trigger guard, and hammer indicate inspection in the third or fourth quarter of 1950, which is after the rifle was received, indicating a replacement trigger group. Of note is that this rifle has a two-piece firing pin, which was adopted by FN in 1952. Egypt's contracts were fulfilled by 1950 prior to this adoption. In addition to this, the firing pin rear end does not have the notch for the firing pin safety stop, which was omitted only on the Egyptian contract. This indicates the firing pin is a replacement part for an Egyptian rifle, and these were specifically produced for Egyptian contract rifles. This was possibly done at the request of FN, as they knew the one-piece design was prone to failure. Also of note is the right-angle machine cuts, identifying this as an early two-piece firing pin. These cuts were later tapered. There are other manufacturing marks on this rifle and others that have not been identified in the research conducted. One example is this B stamped on the safety clearance cut on the stock. Egyptian contract rifle stocks typically have letters or numbers marked in this location, and the purpose has yet to be identified. After parts pass inspection at the proof house, what is known as the perron would be marked on some of them. This proof mark can be seen on the bolt, receiver cover, and receiver. This mark is a rendition of a monument in Liège known as Le Perron. The letter below a star above this mark is the controller or inspector at the Liège proof house. The final or definitive proof mark is on the barrel over the chamber. This is applied after the rifle has withstood the firing of a proof load cartridge. The ELG is an abbreviation for Proof of Liège in French. We again see the inspector mark from the Liège proof house above this mark. After being assembled, rifles were zeroed using varying size front sight blades. This was done at the factory, and the front sight height is marked on the left side. This one is marked 7.2, indicating that it is 7.2 millimeters high from the bottom of the sight base, not including the dovetail. The rear sight is a tangent style with a windage adjustable aperture. It is adjustable from 10 to 100 meters and is marked in Arabic script. As noted with the rear sight, specific to the Egyptian contract rifles, several of the markings on the rifle are in Arabic script. This includes the rear sight as mentioned, and the gas cylinder plug, which is marked with gas in Arabic. Additionally, Arabic script serial numbers are marked on the barrel, bolt, bolt carrier, stock, and top cover. Some of these do not match with the receiver, indicating replacement parts. Behind the trigger guard on the stock wrist is a cartouche. The meaning of this mark is unknown, but it is specific to Egyptian contract rifles. On the right side of the stock is a brass unidisc. The Arabic inscription around the top is the same as the receiver ring, Egyptian Army. The inscription around the bottom seems to include an unknown character at 9 o'clock, with the numbers 473 at 6 o'clock and 21 at 3 o'clock. If you know what unit this rifle belonged to, please let us know in the comments. After its service with Egypt, this rifle was imported into the United States. This rifle does not have an import mark, indicating it was likely imported prior to 1968. The only known Egyptian FN-49s to enter the U.S. prior to 1968 were battlefield captures from the Sinai War in 1956. Israel captured the rifles from Egypt, and they were then imported to the U.S. around 1958. Every firearm has a history, and some of this rifle's story has been deciphered through its markings and features. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to see more of this content, please consider supporting the channel. A link to our Patreon page is in the description. For more information on this rifle and others, head on over to historyandfirearms.com.